2023 was a big year for me. The channel really took off with some well-performing videos, I started a new job that's putting me on track for a future career, and most importantly for this video, I did more traveling this year than any other year before it. I've always had a love for the great outdoors, but this year I realized how truly beautiful the world is, and that I want to see it all. I went to Universal Studios in Florida in February, Zion National Park and Arceus National Park in Utah for spring break in March, Leadville, Colorado on a ski trip in April, Playa del Carmen and Tulum in Mexico in June, Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota in July, Badlands and Wind Cave National Parks in South Dakota, and Toadstool Geologic Park in Nebraska, both in October. Each destination was a unique and fun experience, and I, of course, as per topic of this video, had my Fakemon brain on the entire time. So with that said, let's take a look at some Fakemon I created based on my adventures of 2023. Actually, I lied. Before we go adventure, let's start with my home. I live in Nebraska, the Cornhusker state, so naturally, I've always wanted to create a corn-based Pokemon. Unfortunately though, I can't compete with Subjectively's corn Pokemon, so how about a popcorn Pokemon instead? Sunkern is the pre-evolution to Sunflora, so naturally it's a sunflower seed. But Pokemon flip the script all the time, and even if it's not a corn kernel, it's still a kernel. So what happens if you heat up a Sunkern in a certain new region? Well, do so with a Firestone, and here comes Popkern, the popped Pokemon. Popkern is a grass and fire type with the chlorophyll and solar power abilities, and has Anger Point as its hidden ability. With the introduction of fire, Popkern take on an angry disposition and become pretty strong physical attackers. It uses its flames to propel itself forward and ram headfirst into opponents. In the wild, Popkern conserves energy by hopping or rolling on the ground rather than flying with its fire. They are more active on hot days, and salted Popkern bites are a delicacy in some regions. The name obviously just comes from popcorn and Sunkern, and finally, the shiny form is simply a burnt Popkern. There are a ton of fire and grass type Sunflora evolution Fakemon, so I hope you like this different spin on a Sunkern split evolution. With my hometown out of the way though, let's head to probably my most rugged experience next, Utah. In Utah, I visited two national parks, Zion and Arceus, with Zion especially being a 100% recommend. My girlfriend, friends, and I camped in tents on top of a mountain roughly 20 minutes from the park, and it was one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had. The rocky orange landscape reminded me of very Miner-esque and Wild West scenes, so some kind of mining ground type was definitely on the brain. To cut from Utah for a second though, Leadville, Colorado, the highest altitude incorporated city in the United States, was also a huge mining town. I mean, it's called Leadville, like, come on now. But needless to say, mining was definitely on the brain. Combining the mining theme with a natural mining animal, the mole, and a classic desert-dwelling animal, the armadillo, I came up with Helmole, the mining Pokemon, in a pure ground type. The name Helmole comes from the words helmet and mole, but is also still an armadillo, like I said. The classic armadillo shell is based on a miner's helmet, and the specific mole it's based on is the star-nosed mole, except it has a literal star nose that illuminates in the dark, which is why it has the illuminate ability. Helmole also has the shell armor ability and mold breaker as its hidden ability. The shiny form looks more like a real star-nosed mole, and its mining helmet becomes a yellow construction worker helmet. Helmole form large groups underground. They mine through the ground in organized but complex corridors searching for ore, which is what they eat. The more they mine, the stronger the shell on their back becomes, enabling them to withstand more pressure and mine deeper for rarer and tastier minerals. They're able to see in the dark due to the light on the end of their nose. Helmole are also known to help light the way for Pokemon lost underground. Helmole's numbers in the wild have been declining due to poachers capturing them for their hard shells to sell as durable helmets, and their tail can be used for mining as well as for battle. Fun fact, I actually created Helmole for a different series originally, but because I based it on my trips to Utah and Leadville there, I figured it was allowed to join in on this video. The series was meant to be a Fakemon artist collaboration, but it didn't really work out. However, because of this collaboration, I got to work with the amazing Everest Fakemon, who actually designed an evolution to Helmole for me. So with a few tweaks and making it in my art style, let's meet Starmadillo, the star Pokemon, the first ground and fairy type. Starmadillo evolves from Helmel at level 28 and has the same abilities as its previous evolution. It boasts high attack and defenses. They're very popular with its region's mining operations. In the wild, Starmadillo lead large mining expeditions and are able to go deeper than Helmel due to the crystals that have grown to protect it from pressure and heat. Using their hammer-like tails, they clear the way while Helmel do fine chiseling with their sharper tails. Starmadillo are like beacons in the caves they live in, able to create a radius of light of up to 5,000 yards. This light can be either blinding or healing depending on Starmadillo's intent. The shiny takes the same inspiration from Helmel's shiny, making the skin darker and gemstones yellow. I can't take credit for this design, but I do love it and think it would be a great candidate for the first ground and fairy type. So I skipped Florida, Mexico, and South Dakota, but maybe I'll come back to those in a future video. For the last two Pokemon today though, I wanted to take inspiration from up north, when I went to Voyageurs National Park. My experience up there was wild. It's essentially a humongous lake with islands that you can camp on. But because the islands are so small, everyone who camps there gets an island to themselves. What I was most excited to do at Voyageurs though was to go fishing. They're supposed to have some real monsters up there. So I did, and I caught nothing. Well, that's not true. I did catch a 3-inch sunfish, but unfortunately for me, 3 inches is not very big. But let's create a little sunfish Pokemon for it anyways. The blue lines on its face have always looked like lightning bolts to me, so let's lean into that and make a little lightning sunfish. Without further ado, go ahead and meet Elepo, the sunfish Pokemon. Elepo are water and electric type, with the static and swift swim abilities. It also has strong jaw as a hidden ability. They live within the rocks on the edges of the lake. They constantly have a small electric field around their body. When they get within an inch of prey or an enemy, they'll receive a weak but startling zap that disorients them and allows Elepo to run away or attack. They swim around at high speeds and will eat anything in their path that fits in their mouth. Because of this, they are very easy for fishermen to catch, even without any bait. The shiny form is meant to look like a fish that lives a deeper and more murky lifestyle. The name Elepo comes from ele, just from electric, and lepo is from Lepomis cyanellus, the species that Elepo is based on, the green sunfish. I think Elepo's cute, and he's a certain region's standard fish Pokemon, like Goldeen or Finneon or Aerocuda. But now, a new Fakemon for what I was trying to catch at Voyageurs, the northern pike. These fish are total predators and would be badass to reel up on the hook. So let's turn my only catch into my dream catch. At level 26, Elepo will evolve into Ampike, the pike Pokemon, from Amp and Pike. Ampike is a water and electric type with the same abilities as Elepo. Now evolved, Ampike has a lightning-bound jaw that it uses to deliver Thunder Fangs to its prey. Wild Ampike are what remains of the Elepo that were smart enough to not get caught by fishermen, and are very tricky for anyone to catch now. It is a great sign of accomplishment if someone is able to. The shiny form once again takes on the same colors of shiny Elepo. I'm pretty proud of Ampike. I think it really does look like a realistic, maybe Gen 5 Pokemon. Ampike does evolve one more time, but I'm gonna save it for a future video. But speaking of, the video isn't quite over yet.